ESPN and coaches throwing shade at Miami over the Tennessee quarterback BS.
And this is a perfect segue from what you were previously saying about people talking out the side of their neck, not knowing the content that they are talking about. Whether it was, Ryan Clark, who has doubled and tripled down and been loud and wrong and everything, and blaming Miami for paying Carson Beck because, people have speculated that Carson Beck's getting about $4 million a year. It's not $4. If you listen to the Le Batard show, Mike Ryan, Golden Kane, very plugged in person, he has unequivocally said it's not $3. Brian the Beast London, who I host another podcast with, talked to people and said it's not $3. I'm sorry, it's not $4. I've talked to some other people behind the scenes. They've told me it's not $4. Right. So people that I know, people that I trust have said it in public, and other people have told me it's not $4. However, that's the thing. And so this conversation it's a house built on sand of saying, okay, so basically it is it's a transitive property kind of thing. If A, then B, then B, then C. So if Miami is paying in the portal and they're paying Carson Beck $4 million, who is not as good as Nico, then Nico should want more than $4 million. And thus it is because of what Miami did is the thing that precipitated the Iamaliava situation. That's like the string of logic. That's so faulty. First of all, stop pocket watching, whatever. And it's asinine. And there's been so many people who have talked about the Iamaliava situation. And I even saw somebody who today said, basically, this is all down to the father, who is worse than LeVar Ball, but without the charisma of LeVar Ball. Right. And it's been reported now that, Nico is looking at UCLA, and that might even be done as of the time of this recording. But what we are doing over here ain't got nothing to do with Price T in China. You know what I mean? We're worried about us, in tune with our star players, right? In tune with our program, over here doing our thing. So even if we paid Carson Beck $4 million, which we didn't, first of all, he's a way more accomplished player than Nico Iamaliava. Let's just get that out of the way. You could make the argument that Nico has more potential and athletic talent than does Carson Beck. I believe that to be true because he's 6'6" and can move and can throw the ball he has a rocket for an arm. But there is no link or correlation or causation between Miami paying someone in the portal any amount of money and then somebody else doing. No, stop it. So it's so dumb. And to the point, yeah, people are just talking, I get it. Miami is a lightning rod team. I know that we're still the villains of college football, even though we haven't won anything of consequence in 25 years. # let's be jerks. If you want to hate, then hate on me, whatever. But there have been lots of people who have been out there talking all this stuff and centering Miami in situations that ain't got nothing to do with us, which is really frustrating, but I understand it because, logo holds weight and our name is incredible. So, hey, well, we're going to talk about Miami and we're never going to get these clicks. So, be loud and wrong if you want to, but you're still loud and wrong.
So in the narrative that Ryan Clark is communicating and so forth, Miami's their mistake in this, or they're wrong in this, is simply overpaying Carson Beck.
Yes. Which again has nothing to do with Nico. And as I've said on other podcasts, which is I publicized that on the State of the U Twitter and at the Underwood Sports Twitter. So please look that up if you're interested in even hearing more. You have to be content with the contract you sign the moment you sign it. And whatever else happens, because if I sign a contract today and Mark signs a contract with a competing media company tomorrow, hey, okay, he got more and it's the market, but that's the way things work. Iamaliava was the first player to get big money in recruiting. $8 million Nico. I've been calling him that for 3 years because that number is confirmed, right? That it was $8 million with escalators. He's probably made all of that, if not more, already from Tennessee. That ain't got nothing to do with Miami. Did Miami recruit Iamaliava? Absolutely. So was it Tennessee's, is it our fault from when he was a recruit, him and Dante Moore? Remember when we had those debates on here, Mark? Remember, so those decisions then, and Miami's inclusion in that recruitment, that precipitated them paying him $8 million, and there being litigation about that fact. Yo, what? Like, it's just, you have to be comfortable with that. And it is honestly, it's crazy to me. But yeah, the dad is greedy, and that's basically everything that everybody's heard. And they're trying also to float out this thing about like, well, Tennessee's offense doesn't really get you ready for the pros, so we were looking to leave. You knew Josh Heupel was coming back as head coach after the playoffs, and he's going to run the offense that he's been running. So from then up until the day before the spring game, ain't nothing changed. Like, come on, dog. Like, be for real. But whatever you want to be, for real or for fake or anything else, leave Miami TF out of it, because we ain't got nothing to do with that. But I digress.
And UCLA's the ideal situation for him to be in to develop for the NFL,
with a first-time play caller who's someone who's never called a play at any level yet, with Tino Sunseri in his first offensive coordinator role. Now, I know Tino Sunseri played, but like, that's it. And then you're saying, okay, well, it's going to be North Carolina. North Carolina was like, yo, we're bringing in Jit from South Alabama. It ain't us. It'll be Tulane. Tulane made an offer, but then the daddy talking about, well, I want this, that, and the third, especially because we're going down to the G5 or whatever, to a lower level, instead of really staying up in the prime time, even though you're in New Orleans, but whatever. And then, okay, close that off real quick. And then he's from California. And then all of a sudden it is, I guess, but again, you even asking that question shows the faulty logic. It's just like, dog, like, make your choices and live your life and do your thing. But all of that ain't got nothing to do with us.
Well, we don't know how honestly Nico wanted to get to the West Coast. Obviously, they originally reached out to Oregon. But that aside, we don't know how much he's making at UCLA. Yeah. And it only takes one. It was my thought before this came through that he's his father. Let's be square about that, as you pointed out. I don't know his father. I know nothing else about him except for, in this situation, he comes across as arrogant, greedy, not self-aware for his son, that he just thinks he can demand $4 million and just somebody's going to pay it. But all it takes is one booster at one place. It's like when somebody drops in the NFL draft, all it takes is one. Even if he would have dropped 50 spots, all it takes is one that says, you know what? We want to take a flyer on this guy. And in this situation, maybe a booster stepped up for UCLA. But man, it just you just got to a playoff in your first season starting. You didn't light the world on fire. You were okay. You were decent. You were mid-range SEC. You've got this great potential. You're playing for one of the best offensive minds in the sport. And you play in front of 100,000 each week. I just didn't think it was the best decision. And, who knows what he got at UCLA, but there's going to be a few less people in the stands. I know that, watching the games, and they'll probably not win as many games. We'll see what kind of difference he can make.